Hi, I'm Ashley Adamson, and today we're talking about insecurity, working with it, managing it, accepting it, all of the things. I'm going to share a story about my personal experience and what I've been going through, and then we're going to dive into some of the methods and some of the thinking that I've been coalescing and working with to move through this. Because I don't know about you, but I get insecure sometimes, and a lot of that times I'm also kind of having this layered experience of being an individual that's insecure with also being trans, and that insecurity has its own a level of stuff. And so I've been working through that just like a regular human being, I suppose, and that's kind of the theme of this topic today. So if you're new here, please like and subscribe. It helps me. And write a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking. If you have any thoughts, I always love to hear from them. And you should read the comments down there because oftentimes they're good stories that other trans people are sharing. So insecurity. It's my story. Lately, I've been going on a couple dates with a particular person, and they seem really amazing to me. And I feel like I'm falling a bit for them, and they seem like kind of like the perfect match. And that has me in a way where I feel a little bit clingy and attachy. And, did he text me back? Did he see my text message? Why hasn't he texted me back yet? Oh, he hasn't texted me back. Are we like not gonna talk anymore? Like there's a lot of this insecurity, and it's bringing up a lot for me. To be very honest, it's bringing up a lot. I feel afraid. I feel scared that I'm going to lose an opportunity. And also I feel like this happens to me a lot. And I think it's selective bias here. But like, I feel like whenever I am dating someone that I find really interesting and that I'm really into, they say no. And either it's because they just have more options, or, and this is the thing that kind of kind of gnaws at me, is I'm just a trans woman, and so I'm just lesser than all the other cis women that he has access to. And that might be the reason why. I don't know. I can't say because I don't think they'd ever tell me that. But I still have that thought creeping up in my mind. Has that ever occurred to you when you're dating, or just like the way people accept or treat you? Maybe it's because I'm trans. And we can like blame that as sort of a crutch for maybe a lack of personality, or maybe something that we said or something that we did that had nothing to do with us being trans. But you still can't get the trans out of a trans person. And that's something that we deal with, right? So I'm feeling this sense of insecurity around this person. They seem like a really great person, and I'm feeling like I'm not valid enough to compete with the interest that they're probably getting elsewhere. And that's bringing up all sorts of things for me that I normally would be thinking to myself, girl, like, what are you doing? You don't need to be insecure. You've got plenty of things going on. You're living a great life. Lots of people would want to date you. You look great. Like, what's wrong with you? You got a good smile. I just wrote that in my book yesterday, which is one of the things that I'm going to talk to you about, how we deal with that. So that's been coming up for me. Now, the way that I've been dealing with this, and it's been happening for the past week, the way that I've been working through this is a couple ways. And the first way is kind of the symptom of it. So this had to emerge into my consciousness for me to start working with it, which is this gnawing feeling in my heart, like feeling like there's a lack, there's a scarcity in my being, in my soul. And this scarcity can only be fulfilled by the attention of the person that I'm desiring attention from. I don't know if you've ever felt that before, but have you ever felt like an emptiness in your heart that doesn't feel, it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel comforting, it actually feels like a lack. I almost want to do like my hands like this, like it feels like a scraping thing, like that my heart is just trying to claw at something, anything to really fulfill it. And if I were to characterize what the root of this is, it's a scarcity. It's a scarcity of love. It's a scarcity of presence, and it's a devaluing of my own attention on myself. That's what it is. It's saying that the attention of others or putting my attention onto others is more valuable than putting my attention onto myself here. No, I'm not talking about my mind. I'm not talking about imagining and thinking about other stuff. I'm talking about my lack of presence here is going somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? Like, have you ever caught yourself thinking about someone else or kind of evaluating the situation differently? Here's kind of like a top 10 signs, but I'm going to give you one sign that you're doing this, is when you recognize that you are holding yourself to different standards than someone else, and you treat yourself differently than you would treat someone else. And that whole thing right there, I mean, there's many ways you can unpack it, but within the narrative of what we're talking about here, it's you're not, and I say you in the general way, you are seeing the context of yourself as different than the context of others, and you are perceiving the value that others have to be greater than your own, and so you're harder on yourself. I don't know if that makes sense, but the way that I put it into a concrete example is something like the time and the way that person is doing something, they're doing a really good job, and therefore I see them as someone that that's doing a great job. They're doing a great job. Like, you may do that to me. You may say, Ashley, you're doing a great job. I don't know what you're talking about. You're beautiful, blah, 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 blah. But would you do the same thing for yourself? Would you say that to yourself? Would you say, hey, you're doing a great job every day. I know it's hard, but you're doing fantastic. Well done for you. Would you give yourself that same attention you would give someone else? That's what I'm trying to get to. Would you show up for yourself like the best partner in the world versus someone else? Like, think about your best friend or your family member or someone you love. You show up for them. You give them love. You show up 100%. But when it comes to you and the things that you need from yourself, sometimes you don't show up, right? Have you caught yourself like that? Where someone else has said to you, maybe you should be less hard on yourself. Maybe you are doing a good job, or maybe you've done all that you can do, right? Like, we don't see ourselves as worthy of the same kind of attention that we give to others. That's what I'm talking about. Oh my God, thank you. I'm glad it all came together because I wasn't sure where I was trying to get it to, but there it is. So that's kind of like one thing. And so I'm feeling this, and I'm knowing this, and I'm feeling this pain within my heart. And I'm going, oh, like, there's that scarcity going on. How do I get through that? Because if I just let this gnaw at me, I'm going to do something that's going to make me slip in this early stage of communication with this guy. I'm going to send a needy text message, or I'm going to come across as like really wanting more attention, or I'm literally going to sabotage something in the communication because of these feelings that are coming up. So I need to kind of quell this and deal with it. The first thing that I've done to do this is to shift the perspective of feeling scarcity into feeling abundance. What is abundance? Abundance is like plentiful, it's infinite. Scarcity is the opposite of that, feeling like you don't have enough, feeling like you don't have enough money, don't have enough food, don't have enough attention. Abundance is the opposite. And the main way to create that abundance is to stop looking outside of yourself for proof and evidence that you can be abundant, and to start refocusing the attention into yourself so that you can give yourself love, you can give yourself the attention that you deserve, and you can really grow from that. Give it a try. Try it tonight. When you catch yourself thinking about your relationship with someone and how they may think about you, or how you're putting attention onto someone else because they feel more valid than yourself as a target, retarget yourself. Put that attention on you and saying, hey, you, I'm going to put my hand on my heart because this is how I would do it. Hey, you're valid of attention. you're valid of my attention, and I love you, and I'm going to give that attention to you right now because you are valid. Okay, something like that. Let me know how it goes. If you try it out, write me a comment. I want to hear what that transformation was like if you had one. So that's kind of the thing. But it hasn't been the solution for me. It hasn't been it hasn't just fixed that gap. It hasn't just like contained it completely. It still comes up. It still comes up, and it doesn't solve this issue for me all the time. I think reprogramming of one's own connection here and the way they see themselves is a multi-year process. Replacing scarcity with abundance is a great way of planting the seed, but it's a long journey. That seed is not going to grow overnight. It's going to take time. You got to water it every day. You got to remind yourself. You got to recatch yourself, recalibrate, right? Like that's how personal development works. Where have you seen the most personal development and growth and reaping of the sows that you seed? It's the ones that you water the most, right? Being consistent. Self-love, self-acceptance, self-attention. So that's my long term. But what do I do for the short term? I think I just have to be okay not being okay. I think I just have to admit to myself that I'm just a human being and it's okay to be insecure, and that me trying to fight my own insecurity is creating more insecurity and is creating more friction than is necessary. So that's the third point. Accept that you're a human. Accept that you're going to go through these things and just roll with the punches and be okay with being okay. My mentor, he calls this the warrior's path. And I started this thing with him. You might have seen it already. It's on my website. It's called Warrior Reads, warriorreads.com. It's like nightly bedtime stories for like warriors, hero's journey stuff. It's mostly targeted towards men, but honestly, trans women or trans men or whoever could really benefit from this because they're positive stories to create a nighttime routine for. But this is kind of like the warrior's path right here. And I want to hear from you, trans girls, if you're down with being a warrior, because I want to know if there's warriors out there, this idea of kind of like being okay with not being okay. Like that is a part of being a warrior. Like I can be okay not being okay. That doesn't sound too bad. Sure, it may suck. It may not be that good, but if I'm not okay not being okay, then I'm certainly in a worse off position than being okay not being okay. I'm going to be more level-headed. I'm going to be able to kind of work with what I'm working with. I'm going to be able to sit with it. And sometimes sitting with it is the best way to allow the truth to emerge. Have you ever had those moments where you've realized something that you weren't even thinking about, and then that realization makes everything click together? Maybe it was when you realized that you were trans. That's a really obvious one, but there's other things in life too, right? And so that is, you were doing a bunch of background processing and it all kind of came together when the right moment clicked. So when you sit with it, you're giving it attention, but you're not actively working on it. And that passiveness, that like not trying to force a result, can get you to the truth faster in the long run. So there you go. Those were a couple things, tips, experiences that I've had dealing with insecurity this week. And I'd love to hear how you deal with insecurity and also how this video was for you. Did you try the little meditation I gave in the middle of it? I hope you're doing well, and I'm sending you a big, big, big hug and lots of love energy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.